All right, in just a few seconds, I'll get into the specific steps you should take to design your high ticket program or offering to get consistent coaching or online service or course based clients. But real quick, I just want to say why creating a high ticket program is really important. For one, it will allow you to generate more income per client. For two, it will allow you to do advertising on social media and more specific outreach. And this is going to be really key to have enough leads coming in for you to actually grow to like a 5K, 10K plus month consistently. So now I'll get into, what the exact specific steps are to create this offering. So the first thing is the problem. So, what I mean by this here is you need to get really clear on what a specific in demand problem is that someone has that you can really either solve or really support their transformation in. So, one way to speed up this process of figuring this out well is by thinking about picking one of these niches. I mean, I'm sure many of you already have a niche, but typically helping people either make or save money or improve or change career, improve their health in some capacity, or improve relationships, whether it's like finding a new relationship or improving the one they're in. Typically, those are the niches where people are going to be willing to pay money to get support with a specific problem. So you can start by thinking about those niches as like the overall focus for the problem, but then you want to think about getting specific with, really one sentence. If you can explain who you help and what you help them with, that will help you a lot. So, for instance, helping dads over 40 lose 10 pounds of fat in 2 months. So there, the type of transformation is related to the problem of, weight challenges. And, you can see here there's a person and a time link that's also mentioned. We'll get more into that in a second. But, just look at these as an example of how you want to be specific of that problem. Now, another thing when considering the problem is what is your life experience? So if you can create focus on a problem that is based on experience you've had in your own life, it's going to make it way easier to sell and market because the people are going to be able to connect with you because of your own experience. So for instance, uh, if you're a nurse, like you could focus on helping nurses with specific challenges they have, or if you're a dad, focus on helping dads. So beyond life experience and the niche and getting specific, another big thing is just being very clear about the end results. So as we saw earlier in like helping dads lose 10 pounds of fat in 2 months, you want to be specific. So for instance, if you were like a business coach or a marketing consultant, you could say, I help people get their first organic client in 90 days. If you're a fitness coach or personal trainer, you could say, I help people build or I help women build 10 pounds of muscle in 4 months. So with that problem, you're not only getting specific on like what that actual problem is, but you're getting clear on what the end result is. So that's your first step with the problem focus. Then you want to think about, well, who is the person that has this problem? We already talked a little bit about uh, focusing on people who have some sort of similar life experience to you. So start there. Like think about people who you already have shared similarities with. So again, if you're like a nurse, you could focus on helping nurses. If you're a dad, you could focus on helping dads. You get the picture. The other thing is age range. So typically you want to think about people who can actually afford to work with you. And usually that's going to be people who are at least 30 or older. It's rare that people in their 20s are going to be able to afford high ticket coaching or online service based offerings. And then another thing is like wealth level. So obviously you don't want to force people who can barely afford to work with you if it's possible. So one way of doing that is just getting clear on people who already have a certain level of wealth by thinking about wealth indicators like a job title or role someone has or a specific life stage. So for instance, you could help tech entrepreneurs or something, or tech executives. Like that's very specific. That might be tough for a lot of people, but maybe something a little more common could be like empty nest moms. So once you have that problem and the person clarified, then the next thing is actually like designing the structure of the high ticket program and offering. So the first thing you want to do is think about the length of the program. And in order to think about the length, you really need to get clear on, again, what is the goal and outcome, and how long will it take for that goal or outcome or transformation to actually occur. So, for instance, if you were like a personal trainer and you knew for someone like a dad to build 10 pounds of muscle, it would take like typically a year, then you don't want to sell it for 3 months because you're not going to help them actually get that transformation in that time. So think about what is really required, but typically it could be anywhere from like 3 to 12 months for a high ticket program. And then when it comes to how many sessions, typically it's going to be like 2 to 4 one-on-one sessions a month. It could be, different. Use your expertise, obviously, but oftentimes that's what I'll suggest to, my clients. And then the other thing is like the length should typically be 30 minutes to an hour. And then if you feel like you need to have certain calls that are much longer, then obviously you can do that. And they can be on Zoom or over the phone. Now, the other thing to consider with your program is outside of those one-on-one sessions, and yeah, like the group thing, you could potentially do a group high ticket offering, but that's another topic for another video. You want to think about, in addition to those one-on-one sessions, resources you could provide. So, for instance, for my business, this business, I oftentimes will give direct WhatsApp access. I'll have pre-recorded video tutorials, things like that that are going to really help support my clients in their transformation. So you want to think about that as well with your business. What are other things that you could provide outside of just those sessions to really help get a transformation? Now, of course, the other thing you're going to want to consider for your high ticket program is the price you're charging because it's a high ticket price, right? So, what does that actually mean? Well, usually it's going to be anywhere from like 2K to 10K. Uh, you can split that up though into payment plans. So whether you're doing Stripe and Klarna or just Stripe, or even if you're doing like Acuity, there's a lot of payment processors that will allow you to do multiple payment plans that are financed, or you could just do a subscription through Stripe. But typically, you're going to want to charge at least 2K because again, it will allow you to do more with advertising and specific cold outreach where you'll be able to scale. And that's really the value. One of like the big values of a high ticket program is not only you're providing like a big transformation, you're charging a good enough price where you can actually scale because you'll acquire a client for much less than the amount they're paying you. So this is why it's so great, especially for people who are in that like 0 to 5K a month range.